You and I talked about doing a thing on Holiday Heart for a while now, and there's a lot of discussion about this, and it's so appropriate now that we're kind of turning the corner of the year into holiday season, right? So, tell me something. What is your experience with Holiday Heart Syndrome and this time of year, and how do you talk to patients about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of just bringing awareness. I don't necessarily think my patients go through holiday heart syndrome, but I think most people don't think about their heart until they have a symptom, right? So back it up to what is holiday heart syndrome? So during the holidays, there's a lot of things that may change in someone's routine, whether that's more alcohol, stress, more high fat, more high sodium, high sugar foods, lower activity, less sleep. It's a trifecta of different things, right? And what that does is it can actually cause your heart to go out of rhythm. And it can make someone rush to the ER, which I'm sure you've probably seen a lot more of people in the ER coming in during the holiday season being like, I'm having a heart attack, or I feel my heart beating out of its chest. What is going on? And it really comes down to holiday heart syndrome and these symptoms that are very similar, in line with atrial fibrillation. And we can prevent it. And that's the important part of what I want to bring to people's attention, so that that's not happening, right? Many people think you go into the holidays, okay, I'll get back on my diet when the holidays are over, versus this is a lifestyle, right? And if you're repeatedly always saying the holidays are going to be the holidays, and you have such a drastic change to what you normally do, it can put your heart out of rhythm. And so we really need to be looking at what steps we can take to prevent that from happening.
You're totally right. And there's so many factors that go into this that it's not just one thing. It's not just drinking alcohol. It's the combination of alcohol, diet, what kinds of foods you're eating, salt load during Thanksgiving. I had a patient, I might do this post this weekend maybe, but I had a patient who came in after a long flight from, I think, the West Coast, and he was partying with his family, his friends, drinking heavily, obviously, and he never thought about the fact that you have insensible water loss flying for 5 or 6 hours. It caused dehydration and caused some hypoxia. And like you said, holiday heart syndrome is nothing but myocyte irritability, right? And there are factors on the outside, like toxins maybe from alcohol can cause direct myocyte toxicity, but there's also things like dehydration and stress, fatigue, sodium load. I don't know that there's any one thing that when patients come to us in ED or urgent cares, we basically manage their symptoms. But what you can do, I think, is teach people how to maybe prevent coming to us, right? What are some strategies? I know people like load up on magnesium and potassium supplements and drinks and things like that. But what are the most 3 or 4 most important things, simple things that we can do going into a heavy drinking weekend, for example, or a partying weekend?
Yeah, well, I also want to preface with the fact that there are some people who don't drink any alcohol and still have AFib and still go into holiday heart syndrome. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's just the alcohol. And that's not the only thing that can put your heart out of rhythm. So first off, supplements, when you have a high dose of a potassium supplement, that can also put your heart out of rhythm. So I think we need to stop thinking of, okay, we need these electrolytes and all of this, but we can get that through our food supply. So we really need to be actually looking at your food supplies. So planning it ahead, that's my biggest tip to anyone. And that's going to look different than any person. So if you're flying and you're going somewhere for Thanksgiving holiday, take a second and just think about a couple of factors. Does this cause stress, whether you're seeing somebody who may put more anger in your system? How do we set boundaries to avoid that? How do we walk through the situation of going to a family member, them saying something obnoxious to you? How are you going to close out that conversation so that you don't get that stressful response? You need to plan those things out, or else you get caught up in the moment. You ruminate about this thing that's going to happen, and that's not fair to you. You deserve to have a peaceful, enjoyable holiday. So how do you protect your space? I think that planning out of stress is huge. We can't control someone else's what they say. We can control our response, and we can control how we can assess that. So how do we mitigate it, knowing that family stress is real and it happens to everyone, and we need to be real and have that conversation before we get there, or else it's ruminating, and that can cause that buildup of stress. That's one. The second thing is, like you said, you're in an airplane, it's dehydrating, and most people are like, well, I'm not going to drink water because then I have to get the guy sitting next to me to move so I can go to the bathroom, so I'm not going to drink. But with altitude changes, you're going to be so dehydrated, and dehydration can cause so many different aspects, from changes in our heartbeat regularity to our blood pressure to our heart rate to our blood flow and our blood viscosity. We're at increased risk of blood clots when we fly because of the altitude changes. And so we need to make sure that you are hydrating. So important. Whether that means you have to get up and tell the other person to move, that's a good thing. You should be moving and stretching on that airplane so that we can have good blood flow as well. Stagnant blood is the worst kind of blood. When that blood pools, that can cause it to be more stickier, more clumpier. That can also cause issues. And I think that's important to say, because when you think of, AFib, most people think, it feels so uncomfortable. But why do we really care about it from a complication standpoint? Well, in December, when holiday heart syndrome, AFib goes up, the increased risk of stroke and heart failure goes up, because when you have AFib that's not controlled, you're more susceptible to creating blood clots that get pumped to your brain that prevent blood flow to your brain, leading to a stroke. So we don't want sticky blood. We want to make sure you're staying hydrated. And if you are going to drink this holiday season, maybe you say, you know what, I'm going to have 2 drinks tonight, but I'm going to have a glass of water in between. So that way you're helping with the blood viscosity too, and also pacing out your alcohol consumption as well.
Yeah, it's so true. I don't know if if this is true or not, but I was watching a post on Instagram just last week, and they're talking about the effects of drinking alcohol with diet soda versus not, because of the carbonation, and it was fascinating to me. And what is that? Is that a real thing?
No, I mean, I didn't see that trend. I think there's too many crazy, weird trends, and most of them are really, I can't keep up with them. And I feel like I have too many conversations about why that's wrong and what is right, and it's just taking too much time. Alcohol is something we do not want in excess. There's no benefit to alcohol consumption, whether we put it with diet soda, we don't put it with any, it's really about volume. Right? And someone tells me, hey, I can have 1 scotch, but if I drink beer, I need a 6-pack. I'm going to say drink the scotch, because you can have 1 of them and be satisfied, and the volume is much lower. So I think we really need to go down to say, where can we limit? Where is it intentional, where we're going to add in, and recognize the negative effects of alcohol consumption too.
Yeah, I think the French paradox is pretty much ruled out, right? Or debunked.
Yeah, there is no benefit of alcohol consumption. If you don't drink alcohol, don't start. If you enjoy it, make sure we're limiting it and we're eating it with food and pacing it throughout the day.
Yeah, very true, very true. And I also get asked a lot of things, and maybe you can chime in with this. And the question I get asked a lot is holiday heart syndrome the same as alcohol withdrawal? And they both present with arrhythmias. They both can present with atrial fibrillation. And there's some confusion about that. So I think it's worth kind of talking about also, and to have people understand that holiday heart syndrome tends to be an acute manifestation of alcohol presence in the body, the direct toxicity of it, on all the other things it brings about, plus dehydration and all those things, right? Depletion of nutrients and electrolytes. Alcohol withdrawal syndrome is more of a chronic thing that we see after people have been drinking for a long time and then go cold turkey all at once. And now the body craves for that soothing effect of alcohol, and it goes into this cataclysmic storm and causes all kinds of usually ventricular arrhythmias, not so much atrial arrhythmias. So do you get those patients who kind of go back and forth between those two, or is it more of an ER thing?
No, not really. I think that, what I notice is that every time someone think like when AFib comes as part of someone's medical history into my practice,
Mhm.
they never think about it from a nutrition lens. They're like, "Oh, my doctor just said I need an ablation." They didn't tell me that this was nutrition focused.
Right.
And I'm like, and they come to me because they have plaque in their arteries. They come to me because they had a heart attack. They come to me for other reasons. And so when I see that, I'm like, AFib is not just alcohol. Everyone thinks that, oh, if you stop drinking alcohol, AFib goes into remission. That's not
Right.
how it works.
True.
AFib, and in my practice, I have to say, alcohol is usually not the trigger for my client's atrial fibrillation. The way I look at it is more is your heart needs nutrients for it to pump efficiently throughout your body. So if you're not getting enough magnesium, potassium, calcium, manganese, all these different nutrients in your body, your heart will go out of rhythm. Okay, so that's one. So yes, if you're dehydrated, if you're perspiring more, you have outtake is more than input through nutrition, then yeah, it'll go out of sinus rhythm. And so a lot of people will maybe assume that's from alcohol, but it can come from so many other things. It can go from you're exercising and you're sweating a lot, but then you're not replenishing through food. And so that can be a cause for it too. There's
Yeah.
also blood pressure, so high blood pressure, which can spike during the holiday season. That's the leading cause of atrial fibrillation. It could be insulin resistance. It can be gut health issues. A lot of people who have vagus nerve stimulated AFib, it can cause the regurgitation to put your heartbeat out of rhythm. There's a lot of things that are going on. And so I think the holiday heart syndrome gets a negative rap of, oh, it's just alcohol. And
Yeah.
I don't really think it's that one that's kind of the trigger for it. I think in my practice, when I put people in their AFib into remission, it's multifactorial. There are many things going on. And it's unfortunate that we don't talk about the other components, right? When you're at the holidays, most people are eating more indulgent, higher saturated fat, higher sugar, refined sugar foods.
Mhm.
And that's a big part of it too, right? They're out of their routine. They're not moving as much. They're more sedentary. Their sleep is off, whether that's from travel or alcohol or a combination or just not being in your own home. But we also a lot of people put up their hands and goes, it's the holiday. I'll get back on track after. But the holiday ends up being a month or being a month and a half. And that's a lot of stress on your body. One meal is not going to negatively impact your heart health. Enjoy your Thanksgiving meal. And there's a lot of healthy options within the Thanksgiving meal, but don't make that Thanksgiving meal 2 months long or a month long. That's when we start seeing negative consequences on cardiovascular health and well-being. So, enjoy the celebration, but
Yeah.
make it that one meal type of celebration.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really great point. I think the takeaway I think from this should be that alcohol is not the only thing. It is a contributor, it's a strong contributor, but there's so many other things. Some of them are actually due to alcohol, like dehydration. So, so alcohol is up there, right? Sodium load, certainly. Dehydration, high sugar load. What else? High saturated fats, probably, right? Um,
Yeah, but also nutrient inadequacies. Like, are
mhm.
people really getting in all of their vitamins and minerals in a balanced way? A lot of times during the holiday, people don't eat breakfast or lunch and just eat a huge dinner, which offset your circadian rhythm, which is a big component to your heart beating in sinus rhythm, right? I think a lot of people just assume, okay, I'll just eat all my nourishment in one meal. You can't do that. In
Yeah,
order to meet your potassium
great point.
level of 4,700 milligrams per day, you cannot get that in one meal. And so I think it's also kind of the meal timing and how we offset our circadian rhythm that has an influence on our body as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. These are all fantastic points, I think, and the awareness factor is really, I think, lacking in many people because people have heard about it, but they really don't know how to kind of navigate themselves entering the holidays because they kind of get into trouble. They get into trouble all the time, right? So I wish there was a way of kind of really, well, you do a lot more than I do. I don't do any of this stuff, but I'm on the back end of it, right? But it is great. It is great that you are able to touch patients and say, hey, listen, here's a strategy of kind of going into the holidays. So this doesn't happen to you. That's fantastic. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah, and I don't know know if so many people know about holiday heart syndrome unless it happens to them or you're an ER doc and you see it all the time during this time. So I hope it brings also awareness that you can enjoy the holidays. Just make sure that you're still staying within somewhat of a routine and nourishing your body and doing the things you can do to help nourish your heart and make sure we're protecting your heartbeat and vascular health in the same time.
Yeah. And you mentioned this at the very beginning, and that is stress. People, I think, underestimate the role stress plays in holiday heart. And people, people come in saying, I'm stressed out, I've got palpitations, or I've got palpitations, I think it's because of my stress level. Holidays are a highly stressful time, not to mention the current political climate, right? Many patients have told me that they aren't even getting together, not just getting together and having bad conversations, but they're not getting together with family because of the politics of it all, and that's stressful. So it is kind of unavoidable, quite frankly, in many ways. So great point about the stress. There's so many ways of coping with that. And it's kind of way outside my wheelhouse, but I think that the people should be more aware of that, I think, and seek out some counsel, some help, some advice and guidance on how to really kind of take care of their stress levels too before they go to
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of it is taking inventory. You can't get rid of stress, but you can take inventory of what causes you to have stress and what your decision is to help cope with it, right? I can't tell you how many people that come to see me are following so many accounts where the person's screaming at them on the side of their screen, telling them like, don't take this, don't take this medication, it's going to kill you, don't take this. And I'm like, but do they give you a reason? Do they give you a why? Do they explain? Like, is that cause? They're like, I feel my heartbeat like so fast when I'm listening to that. I'm like, so unfollow them, right?
Yeah,
Follow.
right, exactly.
If those accounts that cause you stress are making you stressed, they're not helping your situation, right? If you're stressed, can you eat well? Can you exercise? Can you do the things that put your health as top priority? No, your stress will come over all of the other pillars of your lifestyle. So
Yeah.
you need to assess, right? I tell my clients, if you are having trouble going to sleep, put a boundary of who can and cannot call you after a certain time. If there's someone who calls you, who you love them, but they cause stress in your life, you say, okay, I can't answer calls after 5 p.m. It's hard. Boundaries are hard, but it's the only way to safeguard your space and have control of what you can control, right? If you're someone who looks at their phone the second that you wake up, you have high stress, no doubt. Okay, because the world is crazy and you're letting the world influence you on that front. I recommend you hold off that phone. Everyone can wait for 30 minutes. Everyone can wait until you have your own time in the morning to do what you need to do to set the tone for your day in a positive light, right? So make sure you put boundaries and that support you and reduce your stress, because life is going to be stressful. There's no such thing as a stress-free life. It's how you approach it and how you set those boundaries to make it less stressful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that all these things are just amazingly important things to keep in mind going into the season, and maybe taking out of, maybe carrying on with it to even beyond the holiday season to.
Yeah, this is a lifestyle. The holidays happen every single year. So we need to know how to make sure we put the holidays within your lifestyle to enjoy it and
Yeah,
to make it something special for you, but still protect your heart.
absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, well, listen, thank you so much. I think we have been talking now for about, 25 minutes or so. This has been great. We haven't done this for a while. I really enjoy speaking with you, Michelle.
Yeah, likewise.
Let's try to talk about more stuff and more nutrition stuff. There's so much more to kind of uncover, unveil, and let's do it more often.
Yeah, be happy to. Wishing you
Okay.
a happy holidays. Thanks for having me today.
Happy holidays too, Michelle. We'll talk to you
Thanks so
soon.
much. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining, guys. Have a great day.